Good day, everybody, and welcome to 20 Minutes on Ice, powered by the Garage Door Sports Network. I'm your host, Ryan, and as always, in the co-host position is Nick. We've got another great show coming up for you today, so let's get right to our opening face-off. Today on 20 Minutes on Ice, we're going to be getting into the goaltending in the Scotia North Division. For some people, it's a bit of an issue. The rest of the league is kind of wondering what's going on in the Canadian division. So we'll be examining each team's goaltending situation and kind of doing a dive into the stats there to see where the North Division does actually stand in terms of goaltending and what level it's been at this year. Plus, also, we'll get into our usual segments, Players of the Week, 3 Hot, 3 Not, and hit the randomizer to finish up the show. But joining me this week is a man with 24-inch pythons that are running wild, Nick McVicker. Nick, how's it going this week?
It's going okay, man. Just getting through a little bit of chaos in my household with a move coming up, so that's always fun.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Got to pack. It's always good.
Just struggle through it and hope you get to the end in one piece.
Pretty much. At this point, that's the goal. Thankfully, I don't have a whole lot to pack anymore. I'm pretty much down to like 2 weeks worth of clothes because I need to keep 2 weeks worth of clothes out.
That's about it. Yeah, living out of a drawer, living out of a bag at this point. Everything else.
Well, the thing is like my room, everything is staying because we still have to sell this place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm bringing a bunch of other, I'm going to be living out of a bag for like the first month and a half at the new place, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
Well, just keep your microphone handy, so that way we can always have you on 20 minutes.
Oh, don't worry. First thing is I'm setting up the studio. It's the first thing.
The new digs, the new Garage Door Sports, the new garage
of the sports.
Yeah. All right. Like I mentioned, we got a lot to get into, a lot going on in the NHL. So let's get right to that. This past week, Montreal Canadiens firing Claude Julien and assistant coach Kirk Muller. Dominic Ducharme taking over as of recording. They lost his first game 2-1 to Winnipeg, but I was kind of caught off guard by this move. I didn't expect Julien to be removed. I just considered him a really good coach, and I didn't think that's where Montreal would look first.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was surprised it happened because this is normally, but if you do this across a normal season, we're at 32 games or something or around that number.
Low 20s at this point.
No, we're at low 20s now.
Yeah.
Right. If this was a normal 82 game season, you have to equate that to around mid 30s, roughly.
Yeah, I understand.
Balance that out, give or take, something like that. And it would have, that's normally when we see the first coach firing kind of go down in a normal season. Bergevin mentioned that when he was talking about the firing, is that in a normal year, we're at this point anyway, and we had to make a decision, especially in a shortened year. We got to get somebody in. Kyle made a great point on Garage Door Sports and said, listen, they needed a new voice. They needed a younger voice. And that was the case the last year and a half, kind of. I know Julien did a great job in the playoffs last year, but they still needed a little bit of a younger voice. I was surprised they let go of Muller, but along with it,
he ran the bench last year in the playoffs, right? Because Julien had the health issue. So I think Muller tried to be head coach in Carolina, and if my memory serves me correctly, didn't go so well, and he hasn't gotten a chance since.
Right, and I have no problem with that. I thought he was just going to stay on as an assistant regardless, just because of what he did in the playoffs last year. That's why I was kind of surprised. I'm why did you let the guy who got you through a round of the playoffs last year go? He didn't do anything.
It'll be interesting to see who they go with, because there's always that caveat that the head coach of the Canadiens has to speak French. So I guess if Montreal turns it around, it's Ducharme's job. You would have to.
Well, they can't go back to the last guy they had again, because they've only done that 8 times. And
they just have cycled through the same coaches for the last 20 years, but
just the two.
Oh yeah, Therrien and Julien.
Yeah,
so
you can't go back to Therrien again. They need a younger voice, and I think Ducharme is a great call. And Irfan, I'm going to mention this because we talked about it in the show on the weekend too. Irfan mentioned that he did a great job with the World Juniors. He has done a great job with the World Juniors, so he's good with young players. Maybe he is the right fit, and we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. I didn't think the coaching was the issue. I looked at the roster to start the season. Julian doesn't even seem like he's been there a long time, but
No, he hasn't. He's only been there 2 years, I think.
yeah, but they made the move. I didn't hear the rumblings that they needed a younger or a younger focused voice. So this one kind of caught me off guard, but I'm not. I mean, I applaud the Canadians for being proactive and making a change here, but I guess I missed something because I was definitely caught off guard.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. All right. The Kings and Oilers, they are making a push. Edmonton, second place in the North Division up until they lost to Toronto this past weekend. They had won 8 of 9 or 8 of 10, and distant Toronto, Edmonton, Winnipeg slowly starting to distance themselves in the North Division. But this Edmonton team, it's kind of a consistent thing now. They are winning games, and they're doing what they need to win to hide their weaknesses and accentuate their positives.
Well, let's be fair. They're winning games when Mike Smith plays.
That's a huge help. Oh my goodness, that's been huge for them.
But yeah, they've figured something out, and it is admirable. 8-2 in their last 10 as of recording right now, which I mean is great for any team. The other two teams that you mentioned, Winnipeg and Toronto, both have 7 wins in that time frame as well. And you can see the rest of the division. Montreal, we just talked about them firing their coach. 2 wins out of their last 10 is not good enough. It's not good enough. The next highest win total in the division out of their last 10, Ottawa.
Oh boy.
They were just so far back that they're still sitting in last, but give credit to Ottawa because they've actually played pretty well the last couple of weeks.
I see this being the peak of their season though. I mean, games are going to get tougher as teams realize they've hit the halfway mark here in the next couple weeks, and just like in a regular season where the games start getting tougher after the Christmas break, I think teams are going to hit that halfway point and things will get tougher for Ottawa.
And I get what you're saying, but I think if you look at the Sens the way they are right now, they've found their identity that they should have had from the beginning of the season. The resilient, we're gonna take our lumps because we know we're gonna get them. You're gonna score goals against us, but once you get up and you get comfortable in the game, that's when we're gonna just keep skating. We're not gonna stop. You might slow down a little bit. We're not gonna stop, and that's why they've caught a couple teams slacking. And I think if they go into these high pressure games where they have no pressure, let's be honest, Ottawa has 0 pressure this year.
No
expectations. If they win a game, that's a win at this point. Ryan, we were talking about them not having 12 wins at one point.
Oh yeah, and they
have 7 already.
Yep, they are well on past that pace.
What I'm thinking is the teams that do feel the pressure, like the Leafs, like the Canadiens, especially now that they're on a free fall and they're going to have to fight for a playoff spot. The Jets, the Oilers, and Vancouver, possibly whoever's going to try to fight for those playoff spots, they are going to feel the pressure. They might go into these games seeing, oh, it's Ottawa, and maybe take a half step off the gas. That's when Ottawa's going to pounce. So they're going to keep winning games here and there just because that's who they have to be.
It'll be interesting. I should have looked ahead to see what a breakdown of their schedule is and see if they're going to be playing more easier teams or if they have kind of those top tier teams coming up. But getting back to the Oilers and Kings, if you look at their past 2 weeks, both teams are 5-1-1 in those 7 games. Both teams scoring 19 goals as well, which isn't lighting the league on fire. That's under 3 goals per game, but they're still doing enough to get it done. I mentioned Edmonton, they're doing the things they need to get done. They are succeeding on the power play, just under 32% in the last 2 weeks, and still getting it done on the penalty kill at 85%. Listen to this, LA Kings last 2 weeks, 90.5% on the PK. These are the things that you need to do to win when you're not scoring off the charts. So, and we mentioned this last episode, LA's getting their goaltending as well.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing for the Kings is they're a young team, right? Edmonton's a more experienced team. They have the McDavids, they have the Draisaitl's, they have the Brody, or not the Brody, what Brody? They have the defense who have been there a little bit more. The Kings are young, other than maybe like Dustin Brown and Anse Kopitar. Like they're a young team for the most part. And they're doing what Ottawa is doing, where they're just staying in games with speed and trying to catch teams. But they have significantly better goaltending than Ottawa's getting. Let's be honest. Jonathan Quick and Peterson have played great.
Yeah.
In the last little bit here, whereas Matt Murray and Marcus Högberg are questionable day to day, like how they're going to play. We have no clue. You know what you're getting pretty much from Quick and Peterson down in LA.
Murray is a Yahtzee roll this year. You never know what's coming up. Like
He's been great in some games, like phenomenal. Back to his Conn Smythe-esque run that he was on with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then some games he looks like he shouldn't even be an AHL goalie. He should be dropped down to the E. Like what is going on with him?
It's a mixed bag all the time.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah. If you look at the LA Kings, though, I mean, in the last 2 weeks, here's something you mentioned. They're full of young players, but top 4 scores in the last 2 weeks for them. Listen to these names: Doughty, Kopitar, Brown, Carter. It's still the go-to guys. So
they're led by the veterans, but the young guys are the ones that are going to have to right the ship.
22 points for those 4 mainstays combined in the last 2 weeks. So LA and Edmonton both getting it done. And I think Edmonton's more likely to sustain it than LA. I'm expecting a drop back from LA. So we'll see.
Unless Quick goes on a Vezina type run with like Vezina with Peterson. I always get that wrong. I'm going to expect them to fall off at some point just because of the inexperience. But yeah, I agree with you.
They've played well enough, though, that they've put themselves in a spot to battle for one of those playoff spots in that division. So
exactly.
Let's look at, I can't believe we have to look at this and why it's happening again, the Buffalo Sabres. And in the month of February.
Can we play the clip from Garage Door Sports? We had a whole segment on this at one point.
I mean, just where is the drive? What is wrong? There's something wrong there. It's either
they're a tire fire on the main show. They are a tire fire of the week candidate. Go vote. This is ridiculous.
So, I mean, they're out of all teams in February. Buffalo's last place. They'll tell you obviously they had a bout of COVID and it was more serious,
which hurt. Let's not take that away. That hurt them for a stretch.
And players are still suffering the effects of it, apparently. So
mental effects too. Let's not forget that.
Absolutely. So a lot of negative there, but I mean, as at the pro level, teams make excuses and choose to fight through those excuses when they want to. You know, I mean, some teams will choose to say, yeah, we could sit here and say, you know, we've had COVID issues and use that as a crutch. And then other teams will sit there and say, man, we've had COVID issues, right? Buffalo's just not getting the results. 2-5-1 in the month of February. That's only 5 points, 22 goals against in that time. The power play is okay. Power play is not going to win you a game, though, for the most part. It may here and there, but not for the most part.
It may help, but it probably won't win a game.
Yeah, I always look at the PK, and in the month of February, 73.7%. It's just
not good enough.
No, Buffalo's not clicking anywhere. Look at Eichel in February. He's got 3 points in 6 games, all assists. And we were talking about it before we went on the air. Jeff Skinner not even really playing at this point. Your second highest paid player.
And that's the one that gets me is that, and I said it off the air, I'm going to say it now, Ryan. When your coach decides to sit your second best player, that is either a wake-up call to him or a wake-up call to the team. In this case, it was both. And neither one of them stepped up because Skinner goes out and says the comments that, well, I don't think you learned much from sitting out, which, although true to an extent, you have to learn something off the ice in order to get back on.
That's
so ignorant. What he said was wrong.
Yeah, that's a player who's not willing to better himself. That's a player who's sounds like he wants out, though he signed the contract last year to be there. So that's weird. But you're sitting out. And like I always hear pro players or former players say on the radio, that a coach never sits out a player for playing extraordinarily well. It has never, ever happened. So,
and if it happens, good for that coach. Give him a break. Whatever. Give it a try. Let's see if it works.
So Skinner needs to find a way, and that kind of attitude. The fact that it even went public to a reporter is absolutely ridiculous. Puts a red flag up about him.
And then the other thing is that the team did not respond to that either. The team played even worse after he got sat and have lost, I think, 2 games since he's been sat, or all 3 games since he's been sat. I can't remember. They've lost a few games since he's been sat. And they're just not responding. The big guns have been awful this year. Your three highest paid players in Eichel, Hall, and Skinner as of yesterday had 3 goals combined on the season. 3. That is not okay for a team.
Taylor Hall's losing himself some dollars this season as well. I mean, he took a gamble, and at this point, it's not even close to paying off.
No, and I said from the beginning of the season that I thought Skinner should play on the second line with Stahl because they have the connection, and then you have Eichel and Hall on the first line, and you balance your attack that way. And Kruger clearly didn't like that. Maybe there is some resentment between the coach and the player we don't know about because he doesn't play favorites. Whatever, I don't care what the coach is going to say. It looks like he doesn't like Skinner for some reason or another, and we will never know unless he comes out with a memoir after he's done.
Not happening. But
right?
I think Ralph Kruger is more of, hate to say this, I think he's more of an assistant coach, and the words that come out are people really are inspired by him and want to work for him and all this kind of stuff. But he was head coach in Edmonton, and the results weren't there with a similar, I would say, even more talented team. And now here we are in Buffalo, the second season in, and things aren't improving. They're exactly like they stay at the bottom. Things have not gotten better in Buffalo at all. And they have an inexperienced GM. And what moves have been made to this point other than you're recovering from COVID? Like, what is Buffalo doing to try and fix their situation?
They're not doing anything. And I kind of feel bad for Linus Ullmark because if you watch the games, I actually think he's playing well. He's been left out to dry a lot of the time, and it sucks because his top defenseman was out for a while, dealing with, I think he was COVID, right? Ristolainen?
Well, there was a ton of play. They had a ton of players on
He was either
protocol.
COVID or he had an injury for the last couple of weeks. He just came back. That hurts. But Ullmark has been playing actually pretty good when he's been in the net for Buffalo, like by himself. But when you get left out to dry on so many cross-crease passes or whatever, it doesn't matter how good of a goalie you are. You're going to get scored on. And it's unfortunate. And I don't think that the defensive structure is right. I don't think the team has bought into anything Kruger's really saying at this point in time. And that's a problem. And I don't think it's Kruger's fault necessarily. It could be the players themselves. I don't know what the issue is, but something's wrong and something needs to be changed, and it needs to happen 3 weeks ago.
It needed to happen last year. It's just, and I don't know if they have the GM, Kevin Adams, who has not been a GM before. And they took a homegrown guy who they could get at a very low price, and we'll see if he can turn it around. So
that sounds something like Buffalo.
Before we get to the Barks and Hubie watch, I did want to touch on one final thing. Jordan Binnington getting pulled in San Jose on Saturday night. The Blues go on to win the game 7-6, but Binnington's pulled at 4-3 San Jose. And the third goal he lets in goes far side from beyond the face-off circle. It's still in the zone, but from beyond the face-off circle. And he's trying to peer short side around the screen. And that just opens up his left hand, his glove hand, and San Jose just fires it into the net. And then the fourth goal goes through him. So he gets yanked. And he's on his way to the bench. And then instead of just going to the bench, he decides to turn around and respond to someone, a Sharks player who said something to him. And he gives that guy a push.
It looked like a Sharks player skated in front of him, said something, and then he turned back to the bench. The whole bench was chirping him.
Yeah, well, when you get pulled, that's happening in the NHL.
And then he continues to skate, right, Ryan? You want to continue the story?
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off.
He continues to skate, turns back then to confront a Sharks player that he has decided to be the leader of the gang, gives him a push, and then skates away. And then when he's crossing Erik Karlsson's path, who is probably giving it to him,
it didn't look like Karlsson was saying anything. He was skating with his teammate, and it didn't look like he actually said anything.
Patty Marleau.
But regardless.
So, yeah, he's skating with Marleau. And then Binnington tries to give him the fake blocker punch out. Yeah, the psych up in the air. And it's just like, at that point, get out. Like, you're going to try and fake out a guy with, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, you just look like an ass trying to fake him out. And you got pulled. You're the one who sucked tonight. So get off the ice. And then that's apparently what Dubnyk was saying to him. I'm sure not in such nice words, but as Binnington skates off the other end.
It might be. It is Devin Dubnyk. He's apparently one of the calmest guys on the ice.
So he's telling Binnington to get off the ice, and that
he said, "Listen, kid, get off the ice.
and
You're making a fool of yourself."
Binnington wants to challenge him. They eventually get Binnington off the ice, but I just thought the whole show that he put on was so phony tough. And then I hated that the narrative became, oh, he fired his team up and they recovered to win 7-6. No, not for me. I don't know.
The coach pulled him, and that's what fired the damn team up.
I don't even know if it fired the team up. I think the game ended at 7-6, and no one ever got a two-goal lead past that point. So I think the game continued at the same trend, and it's just St. Louis managed to outscore San Jose by the end. But
possibly, how it's a normal thing that if your coach pulls the goalie and changes goalies, the team usually tries to rally around whoever goes in because they're coming in cold, right? So yeah, maybe that's what happened for them, but I don't think that's the case. By the way, I hate the fact that he took a swing with his stick at Dubnyk. I don't care what the guy's saying. You do not swing your stick at a player's head or a goalie's head in any capacity. I don't care if you're skating away. And why the heck did he go to the corner? Like, is that just because of COVID regulations? Why didn't he was skating towards the bench and then all of a sudden got to the bench and they pretty much told him to go to the corner? Why?
Maybe that was it. Maybe they used the COVID excuse for not having him on the bench.
But where did the other goalie come from? Like, I wasn't watching the whole game. I just saw the pissy fit that he
maybe threw. Binnington was heading to the room to shed his equipment. I don't know what the situation was there.
Okay.
I think he did get a penalty on the play. I don't think he was kicked out or got a misconduct or anything.
No, I was just wondering because he went to the bench and then it looked like the team on the bench, like his teammates, as he got to the bench and was about to get onto the bench, it looked like he was told by somebody, no, go to the corner.
Yeah, and it might be
and then he just starts skating. That's when he crossed Carlson and did the fake punch. So I think he was pissed off that he couldn't stay on the bench.
Whatever. He acted like a big baby. He
acted like a child.
Yeah,
I think that's the one thing that we have to watch out with Binnington in his career. I'm worried he's very self-centered in some sense, is that he thinks he is so much better. And don't get me wrong, I think he's a very good goaltender. Like, let's make that clear.
He's good.
But I think he's so focused on himself that he's going to have these outbursts every once in a while. It kind of reminds me of Rask. Remember when Rask came into the league and he was having outbursts on shootouts and stuff like that? Like, I think Binnington is going to be this generation's Rask.
See, now I took Rask as more like fired up about wins and losses rather than temper tantrum, even though there is one from the AHL where it was a bit of a temper tantrum. But
that's what I mean. Like, I think Binnington's more self-centered in that sense. Like, I don't think he's doing it just because he's fired up.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be like Rask.
Yeah. All right, Nick, it is now time to get to the Barks and Hubie watch. Now, this comes about because I like Jonathan Huberdeau. I also like Alexander Barkov, but I like Huberdeau more. And despite rumors that have been going around on the show, Alexander Barkov is not a trash player. So now we have the Barks and Hubie watch all season. So Nick, fill us in on how they did this week.
This is all your fault, Ryan, that we're doing this. I'm okay. I actually like talking about the Barks and Hubie watch, so we're gonna keep doing it. 4 games this week. The team ended up winning 2 of them, lost 1 in a shootout, and the boys didn't have the greatest of weeks, but also not a worst of weeks. Jonathan Huberdeau added a goal and an assist in the 4 games, so 2 points in 4. Not his best week so far this year. He had 1 week where he had like 7 points in 3 games, so whatever. But that puts him sitting at 8 goals and 16 assists in 20 games this year.
Fantastic. So, those are really good numbers. And like
that's what you want to see, right?
Yeah, like I've always said, if he's on a primetime East Coast team, he's getting noticed and he's getting photo shoots and he's being talked about around the league.
Yep, I don't disagree with you at all. And Barkov had a slightly better week. He actually beat Huberdeau this week. I think that's the first time in 3 weeks that he's had more points, but they've been tied one of those weeks, so like it's kind of a wash. 2 goals, 1 assist in 4 games brings his season totals up to 8 goals and 13 assists. So they're actually tied on goals through 20 games. Huberdeau has a couple more assists. So it's still fun to watch, but Barkov takes this week of the Barks and Hubie watch. The Barks and Hubie watch.
Again, if Barkov was on a primetime team, which he may be, that's some of the rumblings out there in the NHL world.
Okay, hold on. Let's not trade him away just yet.
No, he's not gone. He still plays. But he's almost like a Bergeron character, up for the Selke, just constantly.
What happens if he does go to one of these big teams? Do we keep the Barks and Hubie watch going, Ryan? Are we just going to continue it anyway? Or?
We may have to. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. You know what? They're so evenly matched each week. It's not like anyone is blowing anyone else out of the
They're
water.
within 3 points of each other on the season. It's like, obviously it's close and it's fun to watch.
And we say Florida's lucky to have both players. Each week we say that. So
hey, we're keeping an eye on the Florida guys.
Perfect. All right. It is time to get into the goaltending in the North Division here, Nick. There has been...
We have to.
lots of goals going in the net. So I'll start off this topic. We're going to go from west to east, quickly looking at the goaltending situation. We have kind of goaltending controversies. We already dipped into the Ottawa pool to talk about their goaltending. On top of that, we have pucks going in at a high rate here, and some goalies with some question marks beside their names. So to start, I'm going to focus on save percentage and the league average for save percentage this year. This is across the entire NHL. 0.908 is the league average. So that
usually hovers around 910, 911. So that's not a huge surprise, especially at the beginning of a year.
A couple points lower. In the height of the dead puck era, it was up at about 920, about 15, 20 years ago. So average goalie save percentage across the league, 908. Let's start in Vancouver, where it is not going well. They don't know who to start, and they would love a third option that could come in.
Well, no, the problem is I think they do know who to start right now, and they're just not happy with it.
Well, okay, who does Vancouver want to start? You think they... I thought I came into the season assuming they're happy to do a platoon situation, playing both Demko and Holtby. Who do you think they want to go with?
I think at the beginning of the season, that's exactly what they wanted to do. Based off the way the two have been playing this year, I think they're now leaning that Demko has to take more games just because Holtby has been not good. Well, I'm not going to say he's been horrible, but he has not been good this year. And that's the problem.
Vancouver's been horrible too.
That's a valid point, but an 893 save percentage from Holtby, where that Demko's at a 901, that's telling.
Yeah.
And even like the goals against average is 0.3 difference, which is, I know it doesn't sound like much. That's a big difference in the NHL.
Both of them are under the league average of 908. And
yes, both of them are under the league average. It's not good. I'm not saying that it's
well
a good
under.
thing, but
yeah, well under. So, I did want to mention this. I meant to bring this up when we were covering Montreal earlier, but I do have to note that I did pick Vancouver to win the North Division when we were.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so I have to say how wrong I was. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because Montreal, when they fired Julien, I just saw a lot of broadcasters and people who write about the NHL saying, oh yeah, this was coming, right? Yeah, this was one of the moves they had to make. Well, at the beginning of the year when Montreal was succeeding, I saw the same people writing about how this is a really great lineup and it's built for a Stanley Cup run. So that's why I wanted to sit here and admit that, yeah, I picked Vancouver to win the division and I was wrong. So that I have no problem going forward and saying Vancouver sucks.
Now listen, Ryan, listen here, okay? Technically, the roster could be built for a long cup run if the right system is in place, very similar a la Dallas last year. Okay? If they put the right system and schematic in place, I think that team could gel together and be a very good playoff team and surprise teams in the playoffs. Do I think they're an actual cup contender as is? Absolutely not. But I had no problem with media saying that at the beginning of the season. Now, if there were rumblings coming out that Julien was going to get fired, I didn't hear them.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people are blowing smoke.
It's just recency bias, right? Yeah. I mean, report on, and I mean, it gets tough because you got to come up with content almost daily. And so you got to say something, and sometimes that forces people to get a little out of hand. But we'll get into that at another point. It's just wanted something to note. So back to Vancouver's goaltending, definitely hasn't been even close to where it needs to be. You could say that about the entire team as well. So let's continue to move east, and we will go to Alberta now. The Edmonton Oilers had to play Mikko Koskinen, and they played him to start the season. And then at this point, Mike Smith has been their savior. But Is this sustainable? Because when they re-signed Smith during the late summer, I guess fall, he was brought in under the understanding you're not the number one guy anymore.
Is it sustainable? Yes, absolutely. Because if Koskinen isn't earning spots to play, then he doesn't deserve to play. Like, yes, Mike Smith, I think, came into the camp and came into the season knowing, okay, I am not the starter. When I go in, I have to do what I can. Well, if the starter isn't earning starting spots, guess who's going in? The guy who they brought in to be the backup, because you're playing better. It's an unfortunate situation for Koskinen because I thought he was going to take a step forward. But if you're not taking a step forward and you're giving up 3.26 goals against with a 901 save percentage, and your backup has a 934 save percentage and just over 2 goals against a game, guess what? He's going to pip you for starting spot.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes. That is the league we are in. So, yes, do I think it's sustainable? Absolutely. If Mike Smith keeps playing the way he is, he will stay the starter. If he starts to falter, Koskinen gets the net back. That's how it's going to work.
Just keep flip, and that's how it's going to work in Vancouver as well. But Mikko Koskinen definitely responsible.
But it's closer in Vancouver though right now. It's more of a toss. And you could coin flip in Vancouver, and I don't think anyone would argue.
Yeah.
If you tried to coin flip in Edmonton, people would lose their mind every time Smith's name did not come up.
Mikko Koskinen in Edmonton, part of the reason why goals are going in at a higher rate, 3.26 goals against average. So Edmonton needed to score more to cover up those mistakes.
Well, I mean, they were going to anyway because they had no defense usually.
Yeah. So Koskinen 7-8 and Smith 6-1. Let's head to the other Alberta team, the Calgary Flames. And
hey, look, another goalie controversy.
They're in a bit of a pickle right now because Markstrom's on the IR, and
not that he was playing well.
They need Markstrom. He was slightly above the league average in save percentage. Yeah. League average 908, like I mentioned. Markstrom at 909, so he's right there on the save percentage. But Big Save Dave is also right there at 907, so they even themselves out. But Calgary doesn't believe in Dave Riddick. I mean, they've proved.
Yeah, you want to know why?
Well, because he's
Here's
inconsistent.
The difference. In 7 games this year, Riddick has 2 wins despite having better stats than Markstrom.
Barely better.
They're barely better, but they're better. And he's won 2 out of 7 games. So when he's in the net, the team decides that they're going to play more defensive because they don't trust him. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That is not a good enough excuse to be losing games when your goalie's giving you the kind of goaltending that he is. Even
their goals against average is higher than the league average. Markstrom 2.87, Riddick 2.77. The league average is, I believe, around 2.7 to
it's around that. It's around Riddick's numbers. So
again, goalies with higher numbers, and it's just I can't say it's necessarily the forwards, even though there is a lot of star power in the North Division. Matthews and McDavid, to name a couple, just to start with. Pedersen, you go across the division, and there's a lot of good goal scorers. But yeah, as we're getting into here, we have not named one goalie yet, maybe except Mike Smith, who is doing the job that is expected of them.
No, and that, again, we said it's a problem. And the other problem in Calgary is that they aren't scoring goals. Edmonton's scoring goals. They can make up for some of the goaltending mistakes, and that's why they're sitting in second in the North. Calgary is not scoring. They are scoring 2.5 goals a game.
They do not look like a playoff team.
Let me round 2.6.
They don't look like a playoff team at this point. Now they have the benefit this past weekend of a couple games against Ottawa, but so that'll make
who beat them.
Who beat them the first one? Yeah. But then
and I think they're going to beat them in the next game too. I have a feeling.
Calgary crushed Ottawa on Saturday afternoon. 6-2.
They did, and that's fine. You're supposed to beat Ottawa, though. But I have a feeling that after that high, they're going to come out and be flat against them in the third game of the series.
You're right. Calgary's very unpredictable this year, and that has been something that everyone has been talking about who's around the Calgary Flames. It's an inconsistent team. You don't know what effort level you're going to get from them. So we continue moving across the country. Winnipeg. Now, here's a different situation. Here is a goalie.
God, we have a normal starting goaltender?
We have a goalie who's doing the job that's expected of him. Reigning Vezina winner Connor Hellebuck, pardon me, has a 9.
Said it right, you're fine.
Yeah, I was fine. I was like, Connor, no, wait, that's fine. He has a 918 save percentage. He's doing what he needs to get done, well above the league average of 908, 2.56 goals against average. He's doing what he needs to do with a 10-5 and 1 record, pardon me. And Winnipeg is in third place as we record in the division. And again, it's because of Connor Hellebuck saving them when he needs to.
Yeah, and he's a clear number one, but let's not take credit away from the backup, Laurent Brossoit, who in 4 games has a 935 save percentage and a 2.24 goals against. It helps when you're getting that kind of backup goaltending, and we're going to see it on some of the other Eastern teams as well. But Hellebuck is the number one. There's no doubt about it. And he shows it every time he goes out there. Every once in a while, he'll have a dud game. Like, he did not look good last week against who did they play where he gave up like 5 goals.
Sorry, I didn't pay attention to that game, but
he had a rough game last week, and it was unfortunate. But overall, he's looked very, very good, and
he's not a question mark.
Fault him?
Yeah, he's not a question mark. The 6 goalies that we've brought up, Smith, you could say at this point, he's not a question mark at this point.
He's a question mark how long it'll last because he's so old.
He's a question mark going forward. And Markstrom is kind of like a faded question mark right now because he's not
even in the equation.
You would like to see him at Hellebuck status, and it's with the injury, he's just not there right now, and then he's going to need time to get there when he comes back. So Calgary's going to have to grind it out. And you mentioned Brossoit as the backup here, doing more than what you'd expect from your backup. He wins when he goes in there. He's 3-1.
3-1 on the season.
And he's stopping the puck. So Winnipeg is extremely content with their situation. Moving along here. See, we're in Toronto now. And this one's a bit of a murky situation. Freddie Anderson, the team is winning. And collectively, the team is 6th in goals against across the league. But he is still under the league averages. Now, if you look at their backup goaltending situation, which has been a duo at this point, Michael Hutchinson and Jack Campbell.
Well, because Campbell got hurt, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Make that clear.
So they had to be going with the duo of backups at this point. But they are getting the job done collectively in 933 save percentage, well above the league average for the backups. So Toronto's getting everything they need, 5-1 from their backups. Do you agree with the faded question mark here on Freddie Anderson? Like, he's still there, but he's just under the league average. Maybe similar situation as Markstrom, maybe.
Yeah, I think Anderson's the number one, but I think if Jack Campbell's healthy, they might be giving him some more starts. Not more than Freddie, but he might have gotten more than 3 starts or 6 starts that the backups have earned this season, just because he has played well. 3 wins when he's been in the game, a 951 save percentage and a .133 goals against average. He's given up 4 goals in 3 games.
Yeah.
When he started, he's looked very good. So if he's healthy the whole time, maybe he gets more than the 6 games that the backups have started so far this season for Toronto.
Yeah.
And Freddie might take that as well, damn, I'm winning games, but I'm not getting as many starts as I want. It might give him a kick in the pants sort of thing. Or it would demoralize him, and we don't know that, unfortunately.
Freddie is winning. Yeah, Freddie's winning. He's 11-3 on the year. 11-3-2, pardon me. But, it's still fantastic stats. Like we mentioned, just under the league averages, 905 save percentage, 269 goals against. I mean, considering the North Division this year, I guess you can see why it's at that point. I'd like to see it maybe 0.2 lower, and maybe, working through the season, he'll get to that point. But
you kind of want it to be at the 250 or lower mark.
Yeah.
Rick. That's kind of your goal at this point. And he just hasn't looked fully right. Like, he's looked good, but there's some games where he does not look interested at all. And you can see you get a couple of weak goals, like some go through the arm or like right under the pad. It's stuff that you expect him to save. And I don't know if it's because maybe the Leafs are first in the division and there's no real competition at this point other than Edmonton. Like, no offense, Winnipeg. I see you're doing well, whatever. But like right now it's Toronto, Edmonton, Winnipeg, everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Toronto, at least, they're doing what they need to get done. No one is in a deep hole, and you're wondering.
There's no controversy in the crease. I don't think. Like I
No,
think
it's
Anderson's
clear.
the number one.
Yeah, it's clear. But I mean, he's in the final year of his contract, so maybe at some point Toronto decides, let's see what we can get out of Jack Campbell. And I don't know if
They seem to like him.
Yeah, and he's done everything that that you need to do in Toronto.
And the other thing, they like him in the locker room.
Oh, it seemed like
he,
it. Yeah.
he is a team guy. Like he does not give a crap about his stats by the sounds of it. During his interview on Saturday night after the game, where he was the number one star, I'm pretty sure. He gives credit to Spezza on the goal that he scored. He's like, man, that was vintage Spezza stuff there. That was awesome. I have to give credit to him. It's like, who does that?
I do like the Leafs mix this year. They got a good mix, and we'll see. It's again whoever can turn the switch once the semifinals hit, and you got to play other teams from outside your division. So, staying in the province of Ontario, we are now looking at the Ottawa Senators. And
okay, let's start this by saying we didn't expect much from them. We expected Matt Murray to be okay, but not good. So let's get that out of the way first.
I expected Matt Murray to be better than this. 3.72 goals against average, 884 save percentage, and pucks are going through this guy, which you cannot do.
Listen, the best goalie that they have right now is Joey Dacord.
One game, 5 shots, 5 saves, 0 goals against, 1,000 save percentage. Killing it, start him every game. Leave it at that. Give him a shot. But Marcus Hogberg, I just lost all confidence in this guy. There was 2 weeks ago. Ottawa was in Edmonton. I think I mentioned this previously. Draisaitl comes down the right wing and just flicks a wrister, not even something strong or dangerous. And it goes far side past the blocker on Hogberg. And it was already spiraling out of control for Ottawa, and they're just trying to hang on for anything right now.
The sad thing is they've won 5 of their last 10 games, and they've actually looked decent as a team in front of the goaltending. Their goaltending is just giving up goals.
It's not doing what it's supposed to do. And
listen, I watched Hogberg back in the ECHL when he played for the Brampton Beast when I worked there for 3 months, basically. He was never an NHL caliber prospect in my mind. I know they wanted him to be, and it was the big talk because he actually got sent down from the AHL team to the ECHL team so he could get some starts.
Right.
He looked fine in the ECHL. Like, he didn't look good. He didn't look great. He looked fine in the ECHL. And then I figured, okay, he'd spend some time in the AHL, which he has over the past year and a half, 2 years.
But it's just the stats aren't there for Ottawa.
I didn't think he was ready, and the problem is they don't have anybody else.
This is what they've got, and they have to work through it. And they brought in Matt Murray with the expectation that at least it clears up a question mark. But now he goes in, and he's a question mark every time he goes in that net. He's a question mark. So, and now let's finish up the North Division looking at Montreal. And I can't believe that this is a question mark. But part of the reason why Claude Julien doesn't have a job anymore is Carey Price's 888 save percentage. What is going on? And Jake Allen's doing everything that could possibly be asked of him.
Jake Allen has looked great this year.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you know what? I think I said it when he signed with Montreal. It's a great spot for him. I was surprised because I assumed he wasn't going to get many starts, especially in a shortened season. Listen, he's played 8 games. It's not like this is a super small sample size. Like, he's played 2/3 of the games that Carey Price has played, basically.
Yeah. 4-2-2. And he's got 929 save percentage.
I'm not saying he's getting necessarily wins, but 929 save percentage, I believe.
929 save percentage. So when he's going in there, he's giving Carey Price the rest that he needs, and they don't have to worry about him. It's almost like he's bringing the calming presence that Carey Price is supposed to bring, and Carey Price is paid to do, and that's a huge tag that they have to deal with right now.
Yeah, and the big one for me is it's a stat that we don't talk about too often: goals saved above replacement, which is the number of saves that they make in comparison to a replacement level goaltender in the league, right? This is huge. Jake Allen is a 5.2 goal saved above replacement this season. It's good. I'm not saying it's great, but it's good. Carey Price is a negative 6.8. He's given up 6.8 goals more than the replacement level goaltender in the league.
Yeah. And that's
not good.
No.
Not good.
There's something going on because we've talked about this. Was a situation, 2-3 years ago with Montreal where Carey Price has
when he was coming back from his big injury, right?
Well, still, I mean, the price.
No, but I'm just trying to put the timeline in my head. It was just after that, right?
I believe it was around that, but it was still at a time where he was expected to perform without excuses. Yeah. So we're looking at the second time that Montreal's gone through this, and I mean, at that price tag, it can't even happen once. It had happened once, but now we're on twice. It's an issue now. It's officially an issue and something.
And now that they have Jake Allen, who I think it's a 2-year deal that Jake Allen signed, possibly,
I believe so.
One. Yeah. But regardless, now that Jake Allen's in the mix and he's shown that he could be a starter in the league before in St. Louis. I'm not saying a great starter, but he was a decent starter in St. Louis for a while before Binnington got there. Carey, your seat's hot, my friend.
And we'll get into it, but can Montreal move that contract, especially with the way that Carey Price is playing?
He's going to be the most expensive backup in the league.
Yeah. No,
actually, I don't know. I don't know about that. Is his contract bigger than Bobrovsky?
Ooh, good question. Is Bobrovsky? I think Bobrovsky's around that mark.
It's around the same mark. Let's pull up Cap Friendly.
They're around.
Gotta love this tool.
So
all right. So Montreal, Carey Price's contract is 10.5.
Okay.
And I need Florida. Bobrovsky is 10 even, so he would be the most expensive backup in the league.
And they're both problems. So good luck goalies getting.
Bobrovsky's not as big of a problem as Price is right now.
Not at this moment. You're right. Not at this moment. So
not by much, but he's slightly better.
So
he also isn't starting. So
as we've gone through and looked at the North Division goalies here, let's quickly go through each team. And
okay, quickly
here, we'll put them into three categories. Will improve. That means the team will improve. Their goaltending situation will improve. They can sustain what they're doing. That's kind of a mediocre category, or it will decline from where we are. So let's go back to Vancouver. Will it improve? Will it sustain, or will it decline from where it is?
I think they're stuck where they are right now. Unless Demko catches fire, I think they're going to, unfortunately, sustain the less than mediocre level that they've been at.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think there is potential for Demko to catch fire, so that could...
Yeah, he could. He's young. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
He could catch fire.
Yeah, and Holtby's in trouble there. So then looking at the Edmonton Oilers with Mike Smith on a tear as we speak, will it improve? I don't know how it can improve. Can they sustain this, or will this decline?
I think this is sustainable where they are, which is good in this division. Like, you kind of want that to sustain how they're playing. Will Mike Smith sustain that? Probably not, but I think him playing this well has to spark a fire under Koskinen and be like, oh crap, like I lost my starting spot because this guy was playing well. Now I have to play better. So his game will improve to balance off the decline of what Smith happens to have the rest of the season. So I think they'll sustain, not get any better, not get any worse.
All right, good. Looking at Calgary now. Now this could be a good situation, but it's just been a mediocre situation. They're going to improve, sustain, or decline?
If they lose more games in the next 2 weeks than they win, this will decline. I don't think this team is mentally capable of going through the next 2 weeks by losing more games.
Yeah, I agree. I can see this situation declining. And if Markstrom's out even, longer than short term, and it's been too long right now for Calgary.
No, I think Riddick's playing fine, but they're not winning for Riddick.
Yeah, and Riddick would be the starter now if he was consistent, but he's not consistent. So
well, no, he's playing fine. They're
fine.
Just not winning games for him.
I know, but if he was consistent, if he was consistently fine, they would not have brought in Markstrom.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Sorry. I was confused with what you were saying. I apologize. I'll shut up.
Winnipeg Jets here. I'll start us off. They could even improve. I could see them improving, and they have the best goaltending situation in the North right now.
I agree with you. I think they can improve. I think they need to find some goal scoring because I don't think their losses are necessarily the goaltender's faults. Like both of them have played well. We talked about Brossoit as well when he's been in those 4 games. This can improve. if they can find goal scoring. If not, it's just going to sustain at this level, and they'll probably still finish third or fourth.
All right, so Toronto, I'm putting them in the can sustain category because what I see happening here is Freddie picking things up and the backup goaltending not staying as hot as it is right now.
I actually will argue that, and I think the backup goaltending will manage to stay as hot as it is during this middle stretch, and then Freddie will find his legs at the end of the season.
So you're looking
for the next 4 weeks. Expect to see a lot of Jack Campbell. He's healthy, or
see.
Michael Hutchison, because Campbell got hurt apparently in the game on Saturday.
Okay, very interesting. So he was practicing today, which is no, he had the day. He was given the day off on Sunday.
Yeah, he was hurt or something. Like, I don't know.
Okay, so we'll see. We'll see what's going on there.
And but I expect to see a lot of the backups the next 4 weeks, just to try to get Freddie. Okay, buddy, we got to ramp up a little bit, so we're going to give you some breaks here, and then we're going to ramp you up for the end of the season. Let's go.
Start stretching there, steady, Freddie. Ottawa, can it decline any further? It can. It's Ottawa. It can decline any further. Can they? I think they can sustain this level of suckage. So that's where I'll put them.
I think they could improve. I think especially now that the team's winning a little bit, it could give a positive attitude for Murray and Hogberg over the next few weeks. And if they can continue to win these games like they have over the last week and a half, it could improve. If not, yes, I think it will sustain. I don't think it will get worse. I don't think they will get worse. I think this is about as low as Murray and Hogberg can be at the moment. Just the way I know Matt Murray. I mean, Hogberg probably could go worse, but overall, I think this is about as bad as they're going to get. So they're either going to sustain or get better.
And Montreal, I will put them in the sustain category, and that is
I'll put them in the confused category.
I'm saying sustain, and that is based on past history where Carey Price needed an off season to climb out of his slump, and I don't think they're turning it around this year after they've already played the fire the coach card. So I will put at the sustain, the suckage, and maybe Jake Allen can sustain his excellent play.
Listen, they're in fourth place right now. They are in a playoff spot. Let's not forget that. The 4 of these teams have to make the freaking playoffs.
Someone's got to take that fourth place.
Someone's got to take a step up, and I think it's going to be Montreal. I think they're going through a bit of a down stretch right now. They were really hot to start the year. Surprise a lot of teams. Some teams have figured it out, but I think they're going to, with Ducharme in there, they're going to change the scheme up a little bit and be that resilient team that I mentioned, like Dallas last year.
All right. And just quickly, which of the North teams here, based on the goaltending that we've just discussed, has the ability not just to make it to the semifinal, which there is going to be a Canadian team in the semifinal, but make it to the Cup final? Which team?
Am I just talking about goaltending?
Well, no, the goaltending is going to push their team possibly into a Stanley Cup final. If you don't believe any of the Canadian teams can make it, which at this point,
I don't.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My final right now is one team from that West division, because one of those 3 top teams are going to be elite coming out.
Yeah.
And then I think whoever wins the East division will be in the final. Those are the 2 teams that I have going to the final right now.
And the East division is Boston, Philly, Washington, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I like Tampa, but I think they're just going to be lulled into this false sense of security during the season because their division is awful.
Yeah. Tampa's just taking care of business.
As good as Florida's playing, and we got to give the Florida guys credit, but they're just not. They're not a good enough team to really be a Cup contender.
Yeah.
Tampa's the best team in that division by like miles.
I don't see a North. Yeah, I don't see a North team making it to the Cup final. But if anyone's going to get on a hot streak, it looks like it's Winnipeg at this point, and they have.
I think Winnipeg has the best goaltending situation, and they could carry. They just don't have enough scoring. So I think Toronto's the best team in the North Division right now. The goaltending question will be there until Freddie proves it.
Yep, absolutely. We will be right back with more 20 Minutes on Ice. We are back on 20 Minutes on Ice. Ryan Haslett, Nick McVicker here with you, and it is now time to get to our Players of the Week. Nick, we will start off with Rookie of the Week, and I will actually have the honors this week. I will go first, and I will take Kaprizov from the Minnesota Wild. 4 games played, 6 points this past week, a +6. I like that. Now, he had scored 3 goals all week, and all 3 were even strength goals. That's also huge. He's getting it done 5-on-5, and 3 goals on 8 shots as well for a 37.5 shooting percentage. All things I wanted to highlight for Kirill Kaprizov, Minnesota
Kirill
Wild.
Kaprizov.
There we go.
Yeah, no, he had a great a week, and he was actually my guy. So I'm gonna have to quickly flip the script on you here, Ryan.
I looked at my wrong. You want my goalie?
Well, I was gonna say he was my number 2 anyway.
I've screwed the pooch here.
Well, no, it's all good. You know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna say my rookie, who happens to also be your goalie, right?
Yeah, from Minnesota, Kaapo Kähkönen.
Yep, Kaapo Kähkönen has played phenomenal this week. 3 games, 3 wins, 2.28 goals against, 925 save percentage. Those are, as we just talked about, elite numbers at the moment in the league. So Minnesota got very lucky, and as a rookie doing that, you gotta love it.
Yeah, Minnesota had a great week, and there will be coming up in the next segment, definitely. So, Nick, I stole your guy by accident there on Rookie of the Week. So go ahead and lead us off on Goalie of the Week.
Well, you might as well just lead us off, Ryan, because I just gave your goalie away, right?
Yeah, I'll take Kähkönen there for Goalie of the Week.
So just continue the conversation.
You already mentioned all the stats. Minnesota had a great week, and it's nice to see a guy that they've brought up in their system coming in and playing well right now for them.
All right, Ryan, if you want another goalie, you can take Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky has been doing tremendous. Do you have the stats in front of you, Nick? Because
I do. Are you ready?
He just seems to show up in this segment every week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you have a 975 save percentage and a .67 goals against average in 3 games in a week, yeah, you're doing pretty good. He gave up 2 goals.
And his other 2 games were shutouts.
Yeah. So he was great. I assumed you were going to take Vasilevsky, so I was trying to be different because clearly you took my rookie and I had to think out of the box. I had Fleury. I had Fleury as my guy. He had 2 games, 2 wins, 1 shutout, 969 save percentage, so slightly behind Vasilevsky. And I say slightly, like I'm talking .006 difference. And a .97 goals against average because the one game he gave up a goal, it went to overtime.
Perfect. Yeah, and I love Fleury's. It's almost like a comeback year, but not really a comeback year. And he's gone out there and played his A game. And now it's Robin.
He's taking the crease from Leonard.
Yeah, and now it's Robin Leonard who's feeling the same heat that Fleury felt last year. And
I don't think Leonard's feeling the same heat though, because Fleury was on his way out. Yeah, I don't think they're going to throw Leonard out at this point.
No. Well, Fleury can't go anywhere, but Leonard has just signed the contract.
But he's not going anywhere.
No, but he's lost the opportunity at this point to prove his worth. All right.
Fair enough, Ryan.
Let's go to Player of the Week. Nick, I'm going to let you go first because obviously I haven't prepared enough for this segment. So after you go first, I can adequately then provide my Player of the Week.
Well, we talked about this one before, so I know we're talking 2 different players. We're good here because the obvious one is yours, and I saw that, and I was like, okay, I could pick that guy, but that's not who I want. So instead, I'm going with Chris Kreider. Wow. We talked about him about a month ago when the whole Tony DeAngelo saga was coming in, and how how it sounded like he handled the situation, and how the players around the team sort of stepped up and said, "Hey, we appreciate what you did." Well, this past week, Artemi Panarin steps away from the team. That whole situation is crazy in and of itself. He stepped up. 3 games, 5 points, 4 goals, while averaging just over 17 minutes of ice time. He figured out what he needed to do and did exactly what he needed for this team, and I commend him. And there is talk now, does he deserve the captaincy? I made the joke when the D'Angelo saga happened that he is the next captain of the Rangers for how he handled everything. Listen, if he's now stepping up when the number one player on your team takes a leave of absence from the team, you found your captain. Yeah. That's not a joke anymore. Rangers next year, name him.
Well, they could do it now, but yeah,
I don't think you ever should name a captain midseason. I didn't like Devils doing it in midseason. It is what it is. That also happened to be Nico Heischer's first game that they named him captain,
right? And that's
because he missed the beginning of the season. Yeah. So fine, that one I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Don't name a captain midseason for a guy who's been playing in the season. Name it at the end of the year. Name it at the beginning of next year. But you have found your captain. Name him next year.
As you mentioned, Nick, I've got my player of the week, and it's the obvious choice, Matt Zuccarello. Minnesota again, fantastic week. They'll be showing up in the 3 hot, 3 not.
I think there's the trend, like me last week with LA.
4 games for Zuccarello, 8 points in the 4 games, +6. Now, of his 8 points, I love this stat, 7 of them even strength. So again, Minnesota getting it done 5-on-5. That's just good team play. That's what that means.
Huge, yep. Huge, Ryan, huge.
All right, so those were our players of the week for this week. Nick, let's get to 3 hot, 3 not. Geez, I wonder who's going to be on my 3 hot list. I have.
Well, you have to wait. We got to do not first. So I'm up first, Ryan.
Tagging you in. Go ahead, Nick.
You got excited again. Just taking my player. Now you want to go first.
We were on Minnesota, so I thought I'd keep the bus rolling.
That's a valid point. Well, I'm gonna bring it down a little bit, and the team that moved from Minnesota is number 3 on my list, and that's Dallas. Stars, 4 games this week, 1 win, tied for last in goals for per game during the week, and a 7.7 power play percentage. That's not good enough.
That's not going to get it done ever.
Not good enough.
No.
Number 2, I have Columbus. The Blue Jackets played 4 games as well. The only difference between them and Dallas, they lost all 4. 7 goals, 12 goals against. So they're not giving up an inordinate amount of goals. 3 goals against is not terrible, but it's not good enough when you're only scoring 7 in 4 games, so less than 2 goals a game. It's not acceptable. And they just did not look good this week.
And without any wins, it will be difficult for them to move up in the standings.
Yeah, that makes it really tough. It's hard to get points when you don't get a win. And my last team, and we've already mentioned them, and I mentioned them on Garage Door Sports, just being an absolute mess, tire fire, whatever you want to call it, the Buffalo Sabres. 5 games, 4 losses, 27th in the league in goals for per game, 16th in goals against per game, and then you just add on the Skinner crap that's been going on. Welcome to the bottom of the list here, boys. You are the hot team of the week.
And Buffalo's under a heap of crap, and there's more crap being shoveled on there.
They are the definition of the tire fire of the week from Garage Door Sports, boys. That's what they are.
They certainly are. All right, Nick, here we go.
All right, Ryan, now you can go.
3 hot. Here we go. The New York Islanders I wrote them off like, oh, here's a team on the downswing at the beginning of the season, but again, in the Islander way, they are somewhat quietly but properly getting it done and winning games. 3-0-1 this past week, 15 goals for, 8 against, so very, very average, not blowing the doors off as far as goals for, but keeping the goals against low. How about this? 40% on the power play from the New York Islanders. I just mentioned they're not a team to score goals, but they're nearly 40% on the power play, nearly scoring on half. And again, just getting the job done on the PK, 83.3%.
Yeah, no, they have definitely stepped up. It looks really good. I'm happy to see the Islanders because I have no issues with the Islanders.
You love their
no
goaltending.
Hatred for them. Nothing wrong with them. And Varlamov is a former Colorado player, so love it. Love to see him doing well. I kind of just hope they continue. They're not gonna flash away, but they're not flashy. But hey,
yeah. So
wins.
Like we mentioned, Minnesota 4-0 this past week, 19 goals for, 8 against. These next 2 stats show me that it's not sustainable, that this is just a really good week for them. 9.1% on the power play and under 80% on the PK, 78.6. So they had a very good week. They're hot right now. Hopefully they can keep going as long as they can, but there's no reason to believe that they can sustain this excellent week.
Yeah, it's tough when you look at those numbers, but hopefully they can make those better. Like if they can get those up, then this is sustainable. But
Yeah.
it just sounds like this week was a fluke.
And now a team that just continues to sustain. It's almost boring to put them on the hot list. Tampa Bay Lightning also 4-0 this past week. 15 goals for in those 4 games, 3 against, including 2 shutouts, like we already mentioned. The power play's firing 33.3% this past week, and their PK was 93.8%. All of these stats look phenomenal. So again, we've talked about where Tampa Bay is going to be when they get to the semifinal and whether or not they can adjust to the change of playing someone other than in their own division.
Yeah, and I mean the division's not good, so it's hard for them to be faulted for it. But listen, they're just that good.
They look like if it was a normal season and they're putting up these stats, they look like a clear candidate for a repeat cup winner.
Which isn't actually not a good thing. I would like to point that out. I just did this. You want to the average that you want to hit for points if you want to be the champion, 106 in a normal 82 game season.
Really?
Tampa
Okay.
would not be hitting 106.
No, they'd be. I'm assuming they'd be well above that.
I'm assuming they'd be getting closer to 120.
Yeah. Okay. So they're rolling, and not unlike that year that Columbus swept them 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
we'll see where that goes. Let's fire up the randomizer and play a game. This week we're going to be playing Heat It or Cool It, Nick. Heat It or Cool It. So
Or cool it.
in
Okay.
this one, we come up with 3 headlines each, and then it's up to the other co-host to decide whether or not to heat up the headline, go with it, or cool it down and just completely disagree with it. So, Nick, do you have your headlines? I have my 3 headlines, not or pertaining to our goaltending North Division situation here. Do you have your stuff?
I got some ready to go. I'm prepared.
Okay, I'm going to fire up my first headline, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Heat it or cool it, Montreal hires a non-French speaking head coach.
Cool it. Never gonna happen. Next, please.
I just feel this holds them back. Like I
don't necessarily say it holds them back, but it doesn't help.
I totally understand the need for a French speaking coach. Like you got to have one on the staff, and maybe even name him co-coach so that it's appropriate when he goes out there and does the press conference. But I think they need to look at exploring everyone for the head coach position.
I agree. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm just saying that they won't.
And I can understand that.
Irfan asked a great question though, and I'm it's going to be one of my headlines, so we'll continue after. But
Okay. Well, that's my first headline. You're up next for Heat It or Cool It.
all right, ready?
Yes.
I know the answer that I have for this one, and this is coming from Irfan on the Garage Door Sports Network, so you can go hear my answer very, very vividly. Patrick Waugh will get consideration for the head coaching position in Montreal and or take it.
I'll heat that up. He definitely will get consideration. His name will be out there.
Okay, then I'm going to change it. Will Patrick Waugh ever be the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens?
Cool it. He will not be the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. I think he likes, I think he dipped his toes in the water with Colorado, and it wasn't for him, and he kind of screwed them on the way out. And they seem to be doing okay.
I was going to say, it seemed to work out pretty well. We got Bednar. It was fine.
But no, I don't think he wants to I don't think he fits at the NHL level. I think he's a perfect junior coach. So I'm going to cool that one.
My reason to cool it, I agree with you. It's cool, but it's because he barely has forgiven the organization.
You still think he's kind of...
No, he's forgiven them, but he's just forgiven them recently. Like, this is not something that's been, it's like 15 years ago, oh, I'm okay with it. No. This is like the past 5 years that he's forgiven the organization. I don't think he wants to go back in there and be a part of it just yet.
It's interesting, though, what a multi-million contract can do to... multi-million-dollar contract can do to some people, so...
Valid point.
All right, heat it or cool it. Toronto runs away with the North Division.
Cool it.
Really? Okay.
I think it's more, and like I still think they win the North Division. I want to make that very clear. I don't think they run away with it just because it's Toronto, and they're gonna no, but it's not a bad thing. They're still sort of inexperienced, right? Especially being at the head of a division. That hasn't happened before. We've been playing in the division with the Lightning and Boston forever. in that, whatever you want to call it, the Atlantic.
The
division,
Atlantic, yeah.
right? Like,
Well,
which
you
is the
know,
weirdest
you
name
know,
for that
when you go to
division,
the city of Toronto and you get to see the Atlantic Sea, the Atlantic Ocean.
yeah, when you look out the window, right?
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen.
Right. So they haven't had the ability to be at the top of a division and be the lead dog. So everyone's gunning for them.
Yeah.
There's not a team that doesn't want to beat Toronto to prove that they belong. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. And that's why I think they're going to lose a few games that people are disappointed with.
All right, Nick, what's your second headline for Heat or Cool It?
Heat or cool, the Chicago Blackhawks finish in a playoff spot because of their goaltending.
Ooh, because of their goaltending.
Let me read off stats, and this is why I'm asking.
Okay.
Currently, the goaltenders, I'm going to cut out Colin Delia because he only played 2 games. Malcolm Subban in 6 games this season has a .916 save percentage and a .260 goals against average. 3 wins, 2 losses, 1 overtime loss. In 14 games, Kevin Lankinen has a .921 save percentage and a .259 goals against average with 8 wins, 3 losses, and 1 overtime loss. We just talked about the goaltending in the North. Is that enough to get them into a playoff spot?
At this point, the way it's going, it's enough. I feel like it's too early to pass judgment, but based on the
We're
game,
over a third of the way through the season.
Yeah, we're getting up in a couple more weeks. We're halfway for at least the North Division. There's other teams trailing behind, but that is a fantastic question. I feel like Chicago is going to make the playoffs, and part of the reason why they're doing so well right now is because of their goaltending. There's no history that this goaltending will get them into the playoffs, but
no, none at all.
Based on how they've played to this point, and they haven't slowed down when I've expected them to. Yeah, I'm going to heat that up. I would say that that's going to get them into the playoffs. I love that one, Nick. Yeah, that made me think that's a good one. But yeah, Chicago is putting some pieces, unexpected pieces together right now and getting themselves into a playoff position. Absolutely.
So Ryan, is it but yeah or just yeah?
It's heat it with a butt. heat it with a butt.
You only said it 3 times. I just wanted to make sure.
I needed to convince myself there, but that's a really solid question, something to examine, because the stats are there for Chicago, and the only thing that holds me back from committing is the lack of history. To ride the goalie. So
I got you.
Heat it or cool it. Ottawa's on pace for 17 wins so far this year. Heat it or cool it. Ottawa finishes with less than 17 wins.
Ooh. I'm gonna cool it, but like room temperature cool it.
Dip it in some running water.
It's tepid water. At this point. Like, I think they're gonna get close. Just because I mentioned it, the teams are gonna be pushing for playoff spots and take the Ottawa Senators lightly. So I think they're gonna win some games down the stretch, and I think they're playing well right now. That they're gonna win some games, especially right now since they're playing Calgary, who are either here or here. Really no in between. They're either off the screen up here or off the screen down here.
Yeah. See,
they're going to win a couple games, I think, because don't they play Ottawa or Calgary like 7 times or something?
Yeah, they've got a few Calgary games, so I see it going. I see your point. I don't think teams are going to be playing Ottawa lightly, though, when they're trying to gun for playoff spots.
I just think they're going to be so much more worried about the teams that they're fighting for the playoff spots with. So they're going to see Ottawa and like take a half foot off the gas pedal sort of thing. Like, okay, it's Ottawa. We can be a little bit more relaxed in this game just because it's them. And they're going to take advantage of a few teams. I'm not saying they're going to do great, but they're going to win a few games. I think they'll probably be between that 15 to 19 mark. I think that's probably where the range is. The highest that they're going to get 19 wins, the lowest they're going to get is 15 in my opinion.
All right, Nick, go ahead with your final. Heat it or cool it.
Final heat it or cool it. Buffalo is a mess. We know that.
Yep.
We've talked about it ad nauseum, but they're not technically last in the league right now. Ottawa is still tied with them for last. End of the season, Buffalo is dead last in the NHL for points and trying to get yet another number 1 pick.
Ooh, I'm going to heat that up. I think they'll compete with Ottawa if that's competing for dead last in the league.
Let's not forget Detroit.
Oh, Detroit's pretty bad too. Good point there, Nick.
San Jose, New Jersey, Dallas has also played awful since they started the season.
Anaheim, I'm not convinced that they're any good. So
Anaheim's 2-5-3 in their last 10 games.
Yeah, and they can't score. So there's a reason for. Yeah, I can see Buffalo. It's really bad in Buffalo. So I can see reason that there's no reason for them to succeed. They can fall, and there's definitely a very good possibility that they do finish last in the league. So I am heating that one up, Nick.
I feel bad for Linus Ullmark, but I agree with you.
Yeah. And how about Dahlin? Like, at some point, he's
not resigning.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes. But
no, he won't resign.
Yeah,
he'll sorry, he will resign to get out of RFA.
Yeah, bring him up to UFA and just get out of Buffalo. But I mean, we keep hearing potential with that guy, but at some point that has to stop being potential. It has to be results. So
agreed.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes. That brings an end to this 20 Minutes on Ice. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you download your favorite podcast or on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that like button. That helps us out a lot. Follow me on Twitter at Ryan_H16. Follow Nick on Twitter at Nick McVicker, and head on over to garagedoorsports.com and find us under the shows tab where you can find the video feed and the audio file. We will be back next week with more 20 Minutes on Ice. Until then, thank you for listening. Goodbye, everybody.